Facebook page of theirs asking.
Yeah. I have to have a Facebook page to have a community.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So, there's nothing on there, but
now there is.
No, there is. There we are. There we are. Now we're live.
Here we are.
Come up now. There we go.
Second time round. Welcome.
I was obviously streaming to the wrong page. I think I was streaming to the wrong page, friends.
There we go. All right. Welcome to the Echo Chamber, friends. We have, there's nobody here yet, but that's okay. We have called this one today Problem, Reaction, Solution. Hello, Marie. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Problem, reaction, solution. Because, you know, with all this problem, reaction, solution stuff, all the psyops, they create a problem, we all react, and then they come up with the solution for us. You know, I think this can work both ways, right? This can definitely work both ways. I just saw a post. I'll start at the beginning. I saw a post just before we came on, actually. It was a Dave O'Neig's post.
Good old Dave.
And the posts, and look,
Dave.
we really like Dave.
We
Dave,
like you.
I'm pretty sure you don't watch our.
You're a pretty hot guy too, if you ever catch this.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's got a presence about him.
Looks decent enough bloke, Dave.
Yeah. I'm sure Dave doesn't watch us, but
I'm sure Dave doesn't, but that's okay. But Dave, he's got the Trump derangement syndrome going on, right? So
sorry, Dave.
Yeah, no, it's okay though. Everyone's allowed to feel what they think, what they want to think, right? Anyway, so he put up a post today. We've had a few lately where he's had a rant about Trump and the war and this, that, and the other thing. This post today: US bases annihilated in the Middle East. USA trapped. End of an empire. Buckle in, right? It's just like, this is like, well, yeah, okay. Well, that's some weird. It's not even that headline grabbing because it's kind of old news already. The bases and everything. It's already been happening now for 3 weeks, so it's not like that's a wham bam in your face thing. But the comments on the post were what I found quite interesting, because I'm gonna call the majority on this have said, fucking bullshit, man. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, you know, where are you getting your information from?
She knows. She spends like 10 hours a week at least. How many hours would you spend listening to this stuff on geopolitical?
At least 30 hours.
30 hours. See, I underestimated by 20, so there you go.
But that's okay. Sometimes 30 hours is too much.
What are you going to do when we're through the other side?
Relax. I'm going surfing, for fuck's sake. But yeah, most of the comments on this post were like, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. There was one in particular that I found quite interesting, and it was because I keep hearing the name Albert Pike pop up over and over again. And Albert Pike was a Confederate general in America, a poet, a philosopher, whatever he was. And there's a letter that Albert Pike wrote, which I'm just going to read the letter because it's pretty interesting. And I've heard, again, I've been hearing the name Albert Pike come up on other podcasts recently. So I thought I'll just read the whole letter. So it's an Albert Pike letter. Why isn't that? Fuck. I can't. Now stay so I can read you. Thank you. The Albert Pike letter to Mazzini. Mazzini was an Italian someone. It's the Illuminati plan for 3 world wars, right? So this was written in 1871. Apparently it was in the Museum of London for all the way up until about, I think, 1977 or something. They took it out and they said they've debunked that this letter ever existed, because there was one comment that said people aren't ready to hear that Israel, Iran and America are all working together, right? And there were a few other comments under that, and it was like, well, so the plan basically, I'll read the plan for World War III, all right? So the Illuminati plan for 3 world wars, August 15, 1871. The following is a letter that speculation claimed that Albert Pike wrote to Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871 regarding a conspiracy involving 3 world wars that were planned in an attempt to take over the world. The Pike letter to Giuseppe Mazzini was on display in the British Museum in London until 1977. This letter has been claimed by many internet sites to reside in the British Library in London, which denies that the letter exists. Giuseppe Mazzini was an Italian revolutionary leader in the mid-1800s, as well as the director of the Illuminati. Albert Pike, a historical Masonic figure, was a 33rd degree Freemason, occultist, Grand Master, and creator of the southern jurisdiction of the Masonic Scottish Rite Order. Following are apparently extracts from the letter showing how 3 world wars have been planned for many generations. So the First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of this war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments in order to weaken the religions. So that's pretty much what happened. They knocked the Tsars off and start this war, and then bring in, through the Bolshevik Revolution, communism into Russia, right? So that's we're good with that so far. So the Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that's
we're hearing it.
That's where we're at so far. Because the idea is to have no religion, right? Just to have one world government, one world order, one world religion. Okay, so this is their plan, right? Their plan. So the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. So political Zionism and the Islamic world. So we have obviously what's going on in the Middle East. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Then, everywhere, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude delusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So, I mean, I think that was their plan, to use this Zionism versus Islamism, the extreme ends of these things, to break the world up, and therefore to break Christendom as well. We've had a few reactions back against that, though, recently, with this return to Jesus movement and stuff like this, which is kind of tainted as well, isn't it? Though there's nothing pure in this return to Jesus sort of stuff that's going on. So,
in my opinion, it's too extreme. The pendulum swung far too far the other way. It's too extreme, and the speed at which it's moving at, it doesn't feel natural. It feels anything but natural. It doesn't feel like a natural evolution. It feels like a forced, pushed direction, like the Pied Piper leading a heap of people up the wrong path.
yeah. So, again, this is their plan. So when Dave in his post says end of an empire, he may be mixing his empires up, because he's referring to the empire of the United States of America, which isn't really an empire. They've gone out and they've got their tendrils everywhere around the world. But they're not really an empire. They're still controlled by the British Empire. So the British Empire overlord is still the empire. It's not America, it's Britain. Now, and the fact that the Zionism is created through the British, it was brought in to bring in the Israel, to bring in the homeland of Israel in Palestine through the Balfour Declaration. And then after the Second World War, we need a home for the Jews. Oh, look, we have this, Israel's here. So this was a Zionistic force created through London, through England, through Freemasonry, right? So, and knowing that Albert Pike was from this fighting for slavery, fighting for that institution in America to continue, which was a British slave trade. This was the original. Let's keep the slaves going. We know how that ended, folks. It just ended with the lid was put on it. It just moved to another country, right? We've all been slaves. We all continue to be slaves in one way or the other. But basically, what I think is happening is that if anything, if any two forces here have joined together, and of course we don't know, and we're all just speculating, is that America and Iran are joining into force to deal with the Zionist issue, and the Zionist issue is the British issue. So. But the comments were very divisive, very, very, very divisive. And everyone's an expert these days.
I mean, just that statement, right? The comments were divisive. Mm-hmm. And this is what it's designed to do. It is designed to divide us. And even those at the front lines of standing for peace and prosperity and bring down the Illuminati, and we're being divided amongst each other. We're on the same team, but we're being divided amongst each other. And that's the point.
Hey, have you seen anything, switching lanes? Have you seen much about, but it was Elizabeth April.
I've been watching a lot of Elizabeth stuff recently.
So recently, Elizabeth seems to have made a bit of a return to the scene. So I wanted to ask you about that, because I watched an interview with her this morning, and at the end of the interview, it was the guy said, do you have a positive outlook? Knowing what you know about all the reptilians, the overlords, all this shit, how do you feel about the future? Are you positive? She said, I'm very, very positive. I wanted to ask you about... I don't know anything in particular, but because you used to watch Elizabeth April before COVID came along, and then COVID came along, and you put me onto Elizabeth, so I discovered the reptilians through Elizabeth and through you. And then COVID came along, and Elizabeth was selling masks on her page, COVID masks, which kind of turned us off there for a while.
It wasn't only that. It was during COVID. Elizabeth April was covering a lot of the stuff that we were covering. She was covering, about the reptilians and the overlords and everything going on at an intergalactic level. And not that we were covering that stuff, but she was talking about vaccines and mandates and all the things. And the first red flag for me was that her channel kept growing at an exponential rate. While everyone else was being silenced and shut down, her channel kept growing. Then she was selling masks, and then she did a whole expose on the vaccine, and she said that your consciousness should be able to override the vaccine, so by all means get the vaccine. I was like, I don't know so much about that. And is this a case of 98% truth and 2% leading people like the Pied Piper, which I mentioned before? I don't know. And I still don't know because Elizabeth puts out a lot of really good content
Yeah.
about what's happening on the planet right now.
Yeah. Put in the comments, guys, if you've seen much of
If you
Elizabeth.
know who she is, she's a millennial and she talks all about all the different starseed races and off-planet stuff. She considers herself to be an expert remote viewer, so she can remote view situations. She's remote viewed a lot of situations happening, particularly with Queen Elizabeth and Kate Middleton, and a lot of Trump stuff she's done. And, you know, to be fair, a lot of her predictions, she does predictions for the year in advance. And to be fair, a lot of her predictions come true, guys.
She mentioned on this interview this morning that she put it into Chat GPT or something. You know, how are my prediction? 87% strike rate on her predictions from the beginning of the year. So as far as a remote viewing, that's pretty good. That's pretty good odds.
They're pretty good odds. Her accuracy, you know, because I've been watching Elizabeth on and off for the last, you know, 7 years actually. So, you know, she's pretty on the money a lot of the time. So take it or leave it. What side's she on? I don't know.
And that all adds into the and she comes across very well. I like her.
She's very friendly.
She's
very
adorable.
likable. She's very down to earth. Does any of you guys know who Elizabeth April is?
And the fact that she's coming back onto the scene as well, it's all about the veils
in a
falling.
really big way. She's coming back in a huge way.
Yeah, the plan for us as humanity is to be under the control, the guise, of Lucifer. That's the plan of the dark forces there, but she talks about different dark forces. She talks about the reptilians, and then she talks about the Anunnaki and different, all these creatures that were here before us, apparently, and that use us for different reasons. Now, apparently, the Anunnaki have had their day with us, so they're handing us back to the reptilians. So we've heard over the last 5 years about this, the veil, like tunnels being blown up and people seeing like starships taking reptilians off planet and all this crazy stuff, right? There's also, it ties into just recently out of the Vatican, they've been talking about how there's been an increase in the amount of priests and whatnot joining the exorcistic, so becoming exorcists around the world. More and more priests are being called upon for exorcisms. Now, is this the veil lifting, and people seeing it within themselves, or is it the veil lifting and sort of like it being forced upon us? What?
I don't know, but what I am seeing, for those of you who don't know, in my work, I work with women who are trying to get pregnant, and I have a particular skill set, which is to communicate with the unborn. So I communicate with souls who are coming to the planet and are yet to incarnate. So women come to me when they're trying to get pregnant and they want to find out what their baby has to say. And I'm getting a massive increase in the last 3 months of women coming to me saying that they believe that they've got an entity attached to them. And I never had this before the last 3 months. It was something that never came up in conversation ever. And I'm getting, person after person after person that says they've got an entity attached. Now, is this programming, or is this women becoming more aware of, entities? And I have personally experienced having an entity attached to me when I went to Egypt. And I didn't know that I had an entity attached to me, but I did have I had a particular night in a hotel in Egypt where I was very uncomfortable. I didn't sleep a wink. I was terrified in this particular hotel. So I know exactly when the entity attached to me. And I would maybe think that entities weren't true, but what happened to me is I spiraled into a really deep, dark depression for about 6 months. And I was, feeling suicidal, and I was in a very, very, very dark place. I'd been living in America, and I was in such a dark place. I'm like, I just have to go home. I have to go home to my family, and I have to be with my family. And I remember going back to South Australia where I lived, or where my parents lived, and I was crying in the room for like several days, and my dad said, I'm going to take my motorbike out for a ride. Why don't you come for a ride? Like crying. And so I went for a ride, and he said he had to go into his friend's house. Now, I've never met these friends. They've never met me. They didn't know anything about me, right? My dad goes into the house. My dad comes out and he says, "Oh, look, this is going to sound really weird, but my mate's wife says she has to meet you." So I was like, "Oh God." I go in there and she says, "You've picked up an entity when you're in Egypt and I'm going to clear it from you." And I was like, whoa. And like the goosebumps on my whole body. And she said it was attached to my back. So anyway, she cleared this entity and I felt like I had a gaping hole in my back for like several days afterwards, like it had been, leached on. And the depression that I'd been feeling for the last 6 months, completely gone. But I was oblivious to the fact that I had an entity attached to me until I met someone that had the ability to see through the veil.
Now, do you think these entities are attaching now with this rise in like
I think they're trying to hold people down.
Trying to stay here.
I think they're trying to stay here because once we ascend and we vibrate beyond, they cannot remain in this frequency. So they are hanging on for dear life to keep the people down. Like, I don't believe an entity can attach to me now or you. I believe we're vibrating at a rate far too fast for the frequency. But at that time in my life, I wasn't. So just remember, an entity cannot attach unless you allow it. Right? So you have a feeling, you get off me, you motherfuckers. You are not welcome here. Get the fuck off.
Well, call in the name of Jesus, friend. That's what we're told. But there was, I think it was either a Tucker interview or someone a couple of weeks ago. He was speaking with one of the world's most prominent exorcists, and he was talking about how that's not. You don't need to say that. You don't need to call on Christ. I banish you in the name of Lord Jesus. You don't have to do that. If you believe it and that's what your belief is, but you are Christ, right? You don't need to call on Christ. You already are. So a fuck off from you is as good as a fuck off from Christ. So, it's all good. So we don't need to try and remember who do we call on when we need it most. Just rely, trust yourself, right? But these are the days we're living in where this shit's real, right? I know people get it's boring, it's not real, it's not relative. It's fucking relative. Like, why would there be more exorcists being called on now in this particular time of history than at any other time in history? Apart from the fact that we're talking about it, the veil's lifting. We're getting to see the Mr. Oz behind the yellow, behind the green velvet curtain, right? Who's running the world? Which reptilian overlords have had their, and are we, they're connected to the blue bloods and the bloodline, the royal families and the bloodlines and all that.
About a year ago, a mentor of mine, Kate Street is her name, she had an entity trying to enter her physical body in the middle of the night. And she wrote to a famous columnist, well-known columnist who deals in what she calls Team Dark. There's an article online about this experience. After we finish this call, I'm going to link the article so you can go and have a read about what happened to her, how she stopped it from happening, and what are the signs that there is an entity present, because there are very significant signs that get named in this article. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but if this is something you're concerned about, go have a read of the article, because Denise goes right into the signs and the things that happen preluding an entity attack. There's certain signs and things that happen to let you know that there's one near and trying to get within your frequency range.
Christine Fraser, you made a comment before. It's the NPCs again. What's an NPC?
Maybe NPC, non-player character.
Yeah, but they're not against us. They're just filling in space.
NPCs are soulless. And what my understanding is of NPC, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is my understanding of an NPC. An NPC, or a non-player character, is someone who is deeply programmed and they are acting on the program. They cannot access the essence or the frequency of their soul because they're too deeply ingrained in the program. So even if they are presented with new information, they are so ingrained in the program that they would defend the program. That's my understanding of an NPC. Is that your understanding, or is yours different?
yeah, it's kind of like when you're making a cake and you have to put fillers in or something. They're just to fill the spaces. I don't know. Um,
They're the program.
yeah,
They can't access their source frequency. They're not necessarily soulless, but they don't have access to their soul.
right. So blocked,
They're blocked.
energy
They're
blocked.
shut down. They for lack of a better word, they're in the matrix
Yeah,
and they're not coming out.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And if you imagine NPC versus us,
So
right?
it's like a spider because I've got a spider man.
Yeah.
It's like if we're living on a web and we're the spiders, we get to move all around the web and make new bits and all that. But if a fly comes along and gets trapped, it becomes part of the web, but it can't move. It can't become productive in the web. It just has to play out its role.
Yeah. Or if you think of the Matrix movie, we've exited the Matrix, but we still have to go in and out, right? We still have to be in the Matrix to be here, but we can go onto the ship where Neo and all that hang out. We can see beyond the veil. Those who are deeply in the web, in the Matrix, they don't even know the Matrix exists. They are the Matrix.
It's like we're all little electrons, friends, and this is the Planck scale, and we go in and out of consciousness, right? In and out of where's the there that we can't see here. Where and again, I'd bring it back to because energy is a big thing. I was feeling like I keep getting this like people are going to be overwhelmed. What's our role here? Our role is to help people, primarily ourselves at this point in time, move through the overwhelm, move through the when things get too much, to calm down, see yourself, step back, move on. That's our role as we move forward to help others to do that. Um, yeah, it's a lot. Like it's really a lot. Isabel, you ask about preparation. Yes, we should be prepared. Prepare for the worst.
Is that my neighbor? It is. Is it my neighbor? I think it is.
Isabel.
Hi. Isabel's my neighbor, I think.
You go and tell Isabel.
Isabel. Is it my neighbor, Isabel? What's the last name? Oh, yes, it is. It is my neighbor.
Well, Isabel.
Love you, Isabel.
Ask her. I did mention a list last week, Isabel, and it's on my private page too. I put it up, but there are certain base ingredients that we definitely should have. We plan for the worst and we pray for the best, right? It's just in case. Have flour, have water, have rice, have fucking Vegemite and peanut butter, shit like that, just in case.
Because that stuff doesn't go off.
I mean, we've been, it's not just us saying this; it's a lot of people saying that.
Keep your car filled up with petrol at this point. It gets to 3/4, fill it up. Because we just don't know. Yeah. We just don't know.
No. Have you noticed lately too? It's kind of hit the mainstream. Two things have hit not the mainstream, but it's hit sort of Tucker Carlson, which is kind of like the mainstream on for this, the alt media. When he's getting 2 million views on a video and CNBC or something, you're getting 200,000 for some bullshit that they're putting out, but one of the big one is the other day he had, and I watched this documentary a few months ago. It was available on YouTube. I think it still is, but the BB files. So Bibi Netanyahu. So Tucker Carlson the other day had the guy that put together the documentary, the BB files. So they spoke at length for a couple of hours about, I think it was Mariam Adelson said when she was being interrogated or interviewed in the police department, if this comes out, I'm dead, right? Now these are these comments that these people are making. Just the video, just the footage of BB's wife and BB's son, not even BB himself, but BB's wife and son is enough to make this documentary worth viewing, friends. But it came out on Tucker, so the BB files is out there more and more, and they're even talking about how important this Charlie Kirk assassination has become and what it actually represents in the larger picture. And because I've been watching the Candace shit from the start on Charlie, and it's too much to write down. But the connections and the tendrils that move out from this, the 10th of September or whatever fucking date it was the day before 9/11, wasn't it? So yeah, 9th. So the 8th of the 8th of September, whatever. Um, the tendrils that have spun out from this, they're even on like Judge Napolitano. So even, Colonel Douglas McGregor and all these kind of dudes are all now talking about Charlie, talking about Charlie. Was it after 9/11?
No, 9/11
Oh, it was the
September.
11th of the 9th.
Yeah.
All right, so the 10th. Yeah, I get confused because you guys go backwards.
The date.
You guys go backwards.
We put the day first and the month second.
Doesn't it make sense? Day, month, year.
It makes sense.
Month, day. See how they fuck with us, friends? See how they fuck with us. But yes.
You know how else they fuck with us? Fuel in Australia is 39% raised. Every other country is like 15 or 16%.
Of course. And there's a supposedly it's a photograph of a text message that was sent from somebody who works at an oil refinery in Geelong in Victoria, that's been doing the rounds. This also came up on the Dave O'Neill's post. And then someone's like, oh, you shouldn't post that up. You might get in trouble. And someone else is like, oh, fucking fuck off, dickhead. I've seen it 100 times. It's already going everywhere. Like, this is where we're at, friends. Talking about how much oil there is and that it's just, this is bullshit, what they're doing, this fear campaign. And we've still got Albo out there, now the oil companies are all jumping up and down saying, we can do this, we can do that. And other people saying 16 years to get an oil generation back up, in certain places in Australia. In Bass Strait and whatnot.
The fear campaign's working because I could tell you off the top of my head at least half a dozen people who are buying electric cars.
Yes.
I have zero interest in sitting in a giant microwave. None whatsoever.
But what's fueling the electric car? What's fueling it?
Power. Where
does power come from?
Oil.
Even to this, you could say, oh, from the windmills and, the fucking solar. No, they reckon if the, if all the power lines went, the companies stopped working, we've got about like 1 day of solar and wind power worth of energy to keep the country going, like 1 day or something. That's how much, So
without power, this nation and every nation would probably collapse, particularly with all the digital money and digital businesses and digital everything. Everything would collapse. There'd be no internet.
There'd be no anything. The fuel, nothing's going to work. Water pumps aren't going to, water stations, we're going to have nothing. So yes, prepare. Yes, get a few things. Be an Aussie, get some fucking extra loo paper, mate. You're going to need it. Now, your sister here, girlfriend, next door neighbour's going to know now. So we put it all out there.
Organised. She's organised.
Yeah, but the Charlie thing, right? All these questions. Were Charlie and Erica on the ropes? Do the faceless children actually exist? And there was a thing the other day. It was like this woman did a breakdown on Erica's Erica's children. If Erica knew she didn't have children, Charlie knew, right? So was Charlie in on it as well? Like, this woman was saying, they're my children. she's paying to use my children as her.
Which means Charlie was in on it.
Which means Charlie was in.
He had to be because
which means everyone. How can all the neighbours?
It means
it's a movie, friends. Yeah. We're watching a fucking movie.
It even means Candace has to be in on it.
Everyone's got to be in on it.
They have to be in on it. Yeah.
We've got to be watching a movie. When you see shit like this, nothing makes sense, right? It doesn't make sense. No wonder people go into, I can't compute. I'm out of here. See you later. Because it doesn't make sense. A lot of these comments too, the war's already been done. We're watching a movie. You retards. You fucking retards. Nasty comments. People are genuinely curious. They generally want to know. Genuinely, they want to know. But it's like whack-a-mole. If you come up and say, well, yeah, but what about this? And someone whacks you down, you're not coming up again, right? Let the ones come up. Don't call them retard. Ask them where they got that idea from and see if we can't balance things out a bit, because we don't fucking know either. we can all talk about, well, we know what happened. It's a movie and it's all just playing out and you're watching the plan, like they don't fucking know if that's true or not.
In fact, I think I know less now than I thought I knew in 2020. I know less. I know less.
Have you talked about Desi Freeman yet? I tuned in late. No, I haven't talked about Desi Freeman at all, ever.
I don't even know who Desi Freeman is.
Desi Freeman was a guy, I think a bit of a truther. I just haven't followed it, Jackie. And apparently he evaded the law. So he escaped and they couldn't find Desi Freeman. I can't remember what Desi did, but it was a big deal, right? Everyone was looking at Desi Freeman except for me, apparently, and you. But I heard.
Oh, no, that's the Merchant of Doom. I was thinking Max Egan.
No.
The Merchant of Doom.
I love you, Max.
I don't. You're a Merchant of Doom. It's like negative.
We need both sides.
Oh, sure.
He's a very smart man.
Yes.
He's a brilliant man, but he's got the Trump delusion, like David Icke. He's a bit like David Icke. They're derangement syndrome. They can't see past it, and maybe they're right. Who fucking knows? But apparently Desi was he caught or was he found overseas or something like that just recently? I saw. No, I haven't talked about Desi. You just made me talk about him, Jackie, and I know nothing about him. But he was a big deal in Australia, and I absolutely haven't. Christina reckons we've won. Project Looking Glass says we've won. This is all a movie. This is all a fucking movie. A movie. The news lie today.
Who shot him today? Oh, Desi Freeman?
Okay. So, yeah, we'll see. It's the next chapter in the story, the Desi Freeman story. So they found him somewhere, did they? And they shot him? I mean, my next comment. Robert, Como John is welcome on the show anytime. I haven't heard from him in ages. I haven't seen him. I've got his number. I could call him. But I don't know that he's interested at the moment. But yeah, we loved our time with John. John's a fucking legend.
John O'Leary?
No, John Wilson.
Oh, yes.
The pirate.
Yes.
That was during the lockdowns.
John Wilson, we loved him.
During the lockdowns in Melbourne.
We haven't heard from him in ages.
CFMEU. Last time I saw John was at the Yes or No rally in Brisbane. Oh, there was a talk. But no, John's a top bloke. We love John. I'd love to have. I haven't heard from him, mate. I haven't heard from him. So yes, it is our discernment, Mike, that we think it is, right? We tell ourselves it's our discernment. We're very discerning, and you're just a fucking retard. We just don't say the last bit out loud. There's a lot of ego in all of this, friend, that we need to be in constant check over, because it is a game, and we are being told a lot. And it's not easy for people, and it's not easy for us to follow. So, problem, reaction, solution. Whose narrative are we falling into? We can flip that, and we can create our own problem for them by looking through the veil a bit. The problem is we see you now, right? The problem is we see you now. Their reaction is to get fucking the big guns out and to start COVID, like the Twin Towers, the Vietnam War, whatever, the narratives that to put us back in our boxes. We can look at their narrative now, their reaction to their problem that we see them. And the solution is that we say, fuck you. When they bring lockdowns back, we say, fuck you. We do what we did in 2020 and we say, fuck you. That's the solution for us, is to not comply.
I'd like to think less people would comply this time, but I don't know for certain.
To the energy lockdowns, friends, that's what we're headed in for. Apparently the meningitis scare in the UK, in Kent, in the UK, that's gone now. No one's talking about that anymore. But we are now talking about energy lockdowns. So in Australia, fuck you, right? The ocean doesn't stop pouring its energy into us, does it, friends? No. We'll choose where we get our energy from. Our minds and our hearts don't stop producing energy. We don't need you to supply us with energy, right?
But there's a lot of terrified people on the planet. I know I talk to, people at my son's school, other mums, and the vast majority of people are struggling. They're fearful of the rising fuel costs. They're fearful of the rising rent costs. People are spending, I don't know what it's like in the US, but where we live, your average person is spending $900 to $1,000 a week on rent, just rent. And that's not including fuel and groceries and all the
That's
things
for a house,
a
basic little house.
A basic little house for a lower income family. Now that is extraordinarily high when the same house 2 years ago would have cost 600 or 550 even, right? So the cost of living is raising at an exponential speed, but the wages aren't keeping up and people are fearful. And it's all good and well for people to say, don't worry about it, love and light and rainbows. But people have to feed their fucking kids. Like, seriously, it's easier said than done.
It is easier said than done, and people will panic and do panic and are panicking. Um, you know, get your staples in your house. Then you don't have to panic quite so much. You've got 2 weeks worth of food, right? 3 weeks worth of food. You've got 5 bottles of water just in case. If you've got a bathtub, fill it up with water if you're worried. Like shit like this, like small things you can do that take the edge off. How the fuck are we going to get through this? I just saw it's all over the internet, this giant mushroom bomb. The bomb's gone off when they throw that one at us, friends. What are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? Be prepared. No, it's quite possibly a CGI. Would they do that to us? Would they use blue beam to trick us into believing that the bomb's gone off? We've got talk now, Israel are getting closer and closer to dropping nuclear weapons on Iran, closer and closer. We've got Russia and America at each other's, supposedly, there's a submarine war, Russia. We've got them just sitting all at the bottom of the ocean, not moving, undetected. America, well, just put all ours out there, we'll put them on. And it's like, no, you won't, you fuckwits. We've got bigger submarines than you, or we've got bigger nuclear tipped fucking missiles than you. It's a fucking game. And of course, people are going to be in fear, right? That's the idea. That's the idea. Problem, war, reaction, fuck, solution, sit down, shut up, don't eat your bugs, be happy. Fuck you, cunts. That looks Hey, there was a scared event this week, and I did speak to my beautiful friend Hilal. And please, everybody, send love to Hilal. I think I mentioned last week that her Papa Bear was very ill. Well, he's passed, so he's gone to um, the great land in the sky, wherever that is for you, friend, whatever. Moved into the next, stage just a few days ago. So blessings to you, Hilal, and your family. We love you so much. And yeah, so I'd love to Hilal from the echo chamber, and yeah, call us anytime. But I know a few of you know Hilal as well, so so scare event, because Hilal confirmed this one for me, because it was the crows. Did you see the crows over Tel Aviv? There was a big swarm of black crows, massive storm of crows that swarm, or murder, I should say, murder of crows that descended on Tel Aviv, and they were fucking everywhere, like, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, right? Who didn't watch that as a kid and get scared fucking shitless? And I'm like, oh, this can't be true. And because Hilal is Turkish, so she watches the Turkish news, follows Turkish guys and all that. I said, it can't be true. And she said, it's fucking true. It happened. And I'm like, all right. So there are these omens.
Let's take it a little bit further. If you look at crow animal medicine, crows are about transformation. Crows are about pecking away at the decay and the death and the letting go all that no longer serves. It's the death before the rebirth, right? So that just tells me something big's going on in Israel, right? And there's going to be like a death of maybe a way of life, or a death of the political structure, death of whatever's going on there, so that there can be a rebirth.
Do you know what's going on in Israel, though?
Not particularly.
um, so
Sort of.
yeah. So no one knows exactly what's going on in Israel, friends, because there's a media blackout on the joint. You can go to jail, you can get fined if you put any media out through Israel. So look, if we're to believe one side, they're having the shit bombed out of them, right? People are living in fear. They're not getting any sleep. It's just day after day after day of sirens and bombings and
In all of Israel or just Tel Aviv?
uh, different areas of Israel, because it's only a little teeny tiny little, it's a little teeny tiny little fucking small place, right? Um, so all around Israel, but in particular, they've been aiming at nuclear installations. Have been the most recent target from the Iranians. But there was a footage came out this week of, and I don't know which city it was in Israel, but it was the mayor of that city, and he was sitting at a table. I don't know if any of you guys saw this, and he was just like yelling, like this is fucked in Israel in Hebrew, right? So imagine me saying this in Hebrew. This is fucked. We can't go on like this. We've got a population here of, you know, 2 million. 180,000 of those have gone. We've only got so many people. If this keeps up, they'll all be gone. But where are they going to go, friends? Because the airport's shut down and they can't leave. They can't leave. They're trapped, right? So the Israelis are trapped now in Israel. They can't escape.
Well, I'm seeing a trend on social media. Well, an opposite trend. You know how you get all these people with the digital money and all the influencers and everything. I'm moving to Dubai, a tax-free haven. Yada yada yada. Yeah. Everyone's fucking hell out of Dubai now, and now they're stuck, and they're trying to be in intermediary countries because they've been living out of their country for so long. If they go back, they have to pay tax. So all these people are stuck in like no man's land, right?
Because sorry, Canada, yeah. Call you no man's land,
right? They're leaving the Middle East and they don't want to go back to their countries because then they have to be slogged with a heap of tax. So it's a big fuckery.
Sherry, I haven't listened to anything from X22 for a while. X22 had a report tonight, clearly explains DJT's Iran strategy and oil. It's brilliant. So I'd like to watch that. There's definitely more to this picture than what they're telling us, whoever they are. And there's so many different ways that people are looking at what's going on. So, but yeah, I tend to come down to that because I like the Promethean updates. I watch the other side as well, but I always seem to settle on, yes, Dave O'Neill's, this is the end of empire, but it's not the US empire. This is the end of British empire. We've come full circle.
Good one, my friend.
Nice
I was like right on midday. Look at that, right on midday.
Hey, we did start late though.
That was excellent. That was exceptional.
Thank you, but I haven't finished yet. I may have finished. There's so much, guys. There's so much. Russia. Comey, Brennan, Clapper. One of them's dead. One of them, and both of the other ones are indicted. So there's something like 97 indictments out on people in the States that are involved in the Russia. I think it was Brennan that died. So Comey and Clapper have been whacked with. You have to, appear before whoever the court is. To talk about Russia, which goes back to London, to the Steele dossier, all straight out of the City of London, MI6. MI6, the CIA and Mossad, but MI6 and CIA, they're behind all of this shit. It's quite bizarre. It's not even that bizarre because we've all grown up on fucking spy movies, right? We've all grown up on CIA dirty deals done dirt cheap behind doors and, spy versus spy and all the, we shouldn't be surprised that it's actually true. Because we were brought up with it being just a story, just a show, just a movie. It's all fucking true. The CIA and MI6 are just extraordinarily, it's quite bizarre, friends, quite bizarre. So, but yeah, like John F. Kennedy said, it's the secret societies and the three-letter agencies that are behind all of this, and their overlords, which, as Elizabeth tells us, are these reptilian creatures, friends. So, all right. I've been watching too. The Ottoman. I watched another one too about the original Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like a little documentary um, on Netflix. These pirates and how they went up and down the coast of America and you know used to raid all the British ships and stuff. And it's all true, friends. It's true. It all happened. The pirates. I love pirates. Um,
All this time you have, it sounds like your children are grown up to watch all these shows and theory.
I used to read books.
You did. That's true.
I don't have time for books anymore. All right, yeah, and the Ottomans and Vlad the Impaler, that became Dracul. And him being everything's fucking connected. Him being the uncle or the uncle of King Sausage Fingers and all these fucking it all fucking ties together, friends. All right, that's enough. All right.
King Sausage Fingers. You're very funny. Do we know who King Sausage Fingers is?
Everybody knows.
Okay.
The fake king.
Fake king.
The fake king. And apparently Trump is cutting off the financial control has had on everyone. Yes, he is, Mike. This is all setting up for, and even Trump posted out that it was, what they're watching the end of the US dollar is about to collapse. And again, it goes back to, the Federal Reserve. It's all out of the fucking city of London, friends. Yeah, it's all tied. It's all tied, and yeah, all of history is tied together in what we're seeing now, and it really is the age of disclosure, and I think it's fabulous, and it can be overwhelming. So do remember to turn it the fuck off. I actually started today. I was feeling a bit overwhelmed before, and I thought, oh. So I found Soul. What's his name? I found some music to put on, some free but it had a bit of an edge to it, and I looked up this guy. Soul something. I wrote him down. Soul Rising. Have you heard of him?
To them, yeah.
Soul Rising. So he's a DJ and he makes these beats that a lot of them are like based on 432 hertz frequency and stuff like that as well. And I didn't want I wanted something because I wanted to get up and move. Got to keep moving the energy, right? So I got up and I was in my lounge room. I'm doing all these fucking wild moves. And releasing and unblocking and moving through stuck energy, moving through overwhelm. So we don't need to go out if it's snowing. We don't need to put our feet on the ground. Just move our energy, move it, move it, move it. So let's keep moving it, friends. And yeah, that's about it, I suppose. Move it. Dance like no one's watching, friends. Okay.
Take some time. Take some time.
And you'll need to dance if you're eating cakes and pies. What? Cakes and pies. Speaking of cakes and pies, I watched Atlas, the movie, last night, and one of the questions the AI asked her was, do you prefer cakes or pies?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So, everything's tied together.
Everything's connected.
And everything's connected.
See you next week, friends.